Welcome to the Kitsap Publishing Deep Dive podcast with myself, Jack Bennett, and Emily Waters. Join us as we explore books, current events, history, politics, health, and more. Let's dive in.
Get ready, because we are diving into This Land Wonderlore by Raleigh Minard.
Oh, I love this one.
I know, right? It's got it all.
It's like Narnia meets Harry Potter with a dash of Percy Jackson.
You said it.
We're about to follow Tommy.
Our main character.
Yes, as he's sent off to spend the summer with his grandfather.
Oh, I love stories about magical summers.
Me too. And, he stumbles upon a magical world.
Of course.
So if you think you would enjoy a summer full of friendship...
And challenges.
Yes, facing challenges.
And that classic coming-of-age story.
All set against a fantastical backdrop.
Yeah.
You've come to the right place.
That's for sure.
What's so fascinating about this one is how it starts.
Yeah. How does it start?
The book kicks off with Tommy hating to weed his grandfather's garden.
I can relate.
Little does he know those weeds are the least of his worries.
Right. It's like your typical summer chore turned into an epic adventure.
Exactly. And from those mundane weeds, he stumbles upon these 4 trees bound together with steel and iron.
Sounds ominous.
It is. And they turn out to be a gateway to Wonderlore.
A hidden world.
But his grandfather warns him to stay away.
Yeah, that warning is so key, right? It's like it immediately sets up a sense of danger.
But also piques our curiosity.
Like, why is it so dangerous?
Yeah, what happened there?
Okay, so, of course, Tommy, being Tommy, he can't resist the allure of the unknown.
Who could?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he ends up meeting Stickx, this talking cat-like creature from Wonderlore.
Oh, Stickx.
Yeah, no, Stickx is quite the mischievous one.
Oh, yeah.
And tricks Tommy's friend Becky into entering this magical realm.
Ah, yes, the mischievous guide. We see that archetype a lot in mythology and fantasy.
Yeah, for sure.
It's never quite clear whose side they're really on.
Right, like are they helping the hero or leading them into a trap?
Makes you wonder if you can really trust them.
Totally. Stickx is a wild card, for sure.
For sure.
And then to make matters even more complicated, Tommy's grandfather reveals a big secret.
Oh.
He's been to Wonderlore himself.
What?
And fought a dark lord there.
Whoa, talk about family secrets, right?
I know.
This reveal connects to the bigger picture.
How so?
Well, it suggests this legacy of conflict.
Okay.
A battle that Tommy might be inheriting.
Makes sense.
It's like stepping into your family's history.
Uh-huh.
But instead of dusty old photo albums, you've got magical realms and dark lords.
So to prepare Tommy for this potential inheritance.
His grandfather gives him this tiny suit of armor.
Tiny suit of armor.
It seems ridiculous at first, but apparently it fits perfectly once Tommy's in Wonderlore.
Imagine clothes that magically resize to fit you.
Oh, what would I do with a wardrobe like that?
I know, right?
But this armor represents a transformation,
Okay.
both physical and metaphorical, that Tommy will undergo in this other world.
Interesting.
Think about it. To face your challenges, you might need to step outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Maybe even become someone you didn't know you could be.
So now we're really in Wonderlore.
We are?
Tommy's facing goblins.
Oh, no.
A leprechaun who tries to assassinate him.
What?
A water nymph who seems to develop a bit of a crush on him.
Sounds tricky.
And even a sphinx who challenges him with a classic riddle.
That's so cool. It's interesting how all of these creatures seem drawn from all these diverse mythologies.
Oh, wow, right.
We have elements of European folklore, Greek mythology, all woven together to create this rich and fantastical world.
Yeah, you've got the mischievous trickster, the leprechaun,
Right.
the allure of the nymph,
Uh-huh.
and the wisdom and challenge of the sphinx.
It's like the author took all these different myths and wove them together into something new and exciting.
Totally, and there's this fascinating detail about time moving differently in Wonderlore.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that.
Well, Tommy and Becky actually age while they're there,
Really?
even though only a few hours pass back in their world.
That's wild. The distorted time element is a clever way to heighten the stakes.
Yeah,
It emphasizes how this journey is a life-altering experience.
definitely. Imagine stepping into a world where time flows differently.
I know.
What would you do with that extra time?
Yeah.
And what would it feel like to come back knowing that you've aged while the rest of the world has stood still?
That's intense.
It is. And then we meet the Dark Lord himself.
Oh, tell me about him.
Turns out he's human, trapped in Wonderlore.
Human.
But here's the creepy thing.
What's that?
He can touch iron and steel without harm,
Really?
unlike all the other creatures.
That's a huge GE red flag.
It is. It suggests a connection to Tommy's grandfather.
You think so?
Maybe even hinting at a shared past.
Or a betrayal.
Ooh, that's a good point. It's like a twist you don't see coming, and suddenly you're questioning everyone's motives.
Right. So the Dark Lord tricks Tommy into going on this quest for a golden dragon egg.
Dragon egg.
Claiming that he needs it to free Becky.
But isn't Becky already free?
Well, sort of. But there's a time crunch here.
Like what?
While Tommy's away, the Dark Lord is working on turning Becky into another Dark Lord.
Another Dark Lord.
The race against time adds to the suspense.
Yeah, for sure.
We're left wondering, can Tommy find the egg?
Can he?
Save Becky and defeat the Dark Lord before it's too late.
Ooh, good questions.
And what would it mean for Becky to become another Dark Lord?
Yeah, would she still be Tommy's friend, or would she become something else entirely?
It's like a ticking clock, but instead of seconds ticking away.
It's Becky's humanity.
And as Tommy journeys through Wonderlore, he encounters this being called Creature, who helps him navigate the challenges and maintain the balance between good and evil.
Creature's like a guide, then.
Well, he's a complex character. He represents the forces of balance.
I see.
Which suggests that both pure good and pure evil are detrimental in this world.
Oh, that's deep.
It makes you think about the gray areas of morality.
Yeah, is it always so black and white?
Or is there more to it than that?
Exactly. It's like that saying, too much of a good thing can be bad.
Right.
Even things that seem purely good can have negative consequences if they're not kept in check.
So true, but the climax of the story is wild.
What happens?
Tommy discovers that the golden dragon egg doesn't even exist. What? The Dark Lord's true goal was to kill him and corrupt Becky.
It's a classic bait and switch.
We, along with Tommy, have been tricked into thinking that the egg is the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
But it's all about power and manipulation.
Wow, imagine going on this epic quest, facing all these dangers, only to find out that it was all a lie.
I know. How would you feel? Betrayed.
Angry. Determined to get revenge.
All of the above, and the battle is intense.
Tell me about it.
Tommy manages to sever the Dark Lord's hand in a duel.
He does.
But Creature seemingly dies in the swamp during their escape.
Oh no. That apparent death leaves us on a cliffhanger. We're not sure if Creature truly perished or if there's a chance for his revival.
It plays on that theme of balance, life and death, hope and despair.
It makes you hold your breath, hoping against hope that Creature somehow survives, so they're escaping and
just when you think things can't get any worse.
they get worse.
Well, not exactly, but Tommy pulls off an incredible move. He uses this giant lodestone cliff to trap the Dark Lord.
A lodestone cliff.
Preventing him from harming anyone. It's really clever.
I bet. It's like using the environment to your advantage.
Exactly. It's a victory, but not a clean one, you know?
What do you mean?
Well, Dark Lord's imprisoned,
Uh-huh.
not destroyed.
So the threat isn't completely gone.
Exactly. There's always that lingering fear.
That what?
That what if he escapes? You know, it's like a monster under the bed.
That's creepy.
It is. You know, it's there lurking in the shadows.
And it can pop out any moment.
Right. Finally, Tommy, Becky, and Creature.
Assuming he survived that swamp encounter.
Right. Well, they escape back through the portal, and Tommy seals it off.
To protect both worlds.
The sealing of the portal brings us back to the grandfather's initial warning.
It does.
Yeah, it seems like the cycle of conflict might be broken, at least for now.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But you have to wonder, is it truly over?
Right. Or is this just a temporary pause in a much larger battle?
So many questions. We know the portal's sealed, but what about the Dark Lord? Could he escape his magnetic prison? And what about Becky? She was tempted by the Dark Lord's promises.
Ooh, those are powerful temptations, especially for someone so young.
Remember all those jewels and fancy clothes she got?
The Dark Lord understood human desires.
I guess so.
He offered Becky comfort status, a sense of belonging.
All in exchange for her allegiance.
It's a classic manipulation tactic.
And it almost worked.
She was ready to ditch Tommy and stay in Wonderlore.
Yeah, that scene where she tries to stab him is chilling.
It is. It's a stark reminder that these characters are changing, growing up in a world where the lines between good and evil are blurred.
Definitely.
Becky's transformation is particularly unsettling because it highlights how easily innocence can be corrupted.
Makes you think about the choices we make when we're young.
Right.
The temptations we face, and how easily we can be swayed by the wrong influences.
It makes you wonder what happened to her after she returned home.
Yeah, did she go back to being the same old Becky, or was she forever changed by her experience in Wonderlore? Did she keep any of that darkness inside her?
That's a question the book leaves open for the reader to ponder.
It does.
It's a testament to the story's power. It stays with you long after you finish reading.
I can see that.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the long-term consequences of our actions, how the choices we make can shape who we become.
Absolutely. But let's go back to that you will like section for a moment.
Okay.
We've got Narnia, Harry Potter, The Chronicles of Prydain, and Percy Jackson listed as comparisons.
Oh, those are some heavy hitters in the fantasy genre.
I know, right?
They give us a framework for understanding the tone and themes of This Land Wonderlore.
Makes sense.
We can expect epic adventures, magical creatures.
Of course.
And that classic battle between good and evil.
But also a focus on personal growth and the power of friendship.
Exactly. You know how Harry Potter has that coming-of-age element?
Where he learns to be a wizard.
Well, it sounds like Tommy's going through something similar.
Yeah.
But instead of magic spells, he's facing mythical creatures.
Right, and figuring out how to be a hero in this strange world.
Totally. The hero's journey is a recurring theme in these comparisons.
Well, we see young characters forced to confront their fears, make difficult choices, and ultimately discover their true potential.
It's like they're thrown into the deep end and they have to sink or swim.
Exactly. And speaking of deep ends, what about that creepy detail about the Dark Lord being human?
Right.
It hints at a deeper backstory.
Maybe even a tragic fall from grace.
It raises an important question. How did a human become the Dark Lord of Wonderlore? Was it a deliberate choice, or was he a victim of circumstance? What events led him down that path?
Yeah, was there a turning point, a moment where he could have chosen a different path?
Wow, the Dark Lord being human adds a whole new layer to this, doesn't it?
It makes you wonder if he was always evil, or if something happened that turned him that way. What do you think? Could anyone become a Dark Lord under the right circumstances?
It's certainly possible. The possibility of betrayal adds a layer of complexity to the story.
How so?
Well, it reminds us that even in fantastical worlds, human relationships are often the most dangerous and unpredictable element.
Interesting. We never know who to trust, who might betray us.
It's like a constant game of chess, trying to anticipate the moves of those around us.
And then there's that scene where the Dark Lord tries to turn Becky into another Dark Lord.
Oh, right.
Makes you wonder if there's some kind of ritual or process involved, or it was more about corrupting her soul.
What's fascinating there is the idea that evil can be contagious.
Contagious.
That it can spread from one person to another.
It's a chilling thought.
Yeah.
And it raises questions about the nature of free will versus manipulation. Are we truly in control of our own destinies? Or can we be influenced, even controlled by outside forces?
And the fact that Becky almost succumbed to the Dark Lord's influence suggests that anyone, even a seemingly innocent child, is vulnerable to the lure of power.
Wow. It's a reminder that even in a magical world, it's the human element, the choices we make that truly shape the story.
It speaks to the universal human struggle between our better angels and our darker impulses.
And in a world like Wonderlore, where magic and mythical creatures abound,
those impulses can be magnified. It's like that world acts as a mirror reflecting back our deepest desires and fears.
So we talked about Becky and the Dark Lord and even all those cool comparisons to other books.
Yeah, like Narnia.
Right. But let's get back to Tommy. He really goes through a lot in this book. I mean,
he does.
He faces so many dangers, from goblins and leprechauns to a sphinx and even a giant catfish.
Can you imagine?
I'd probably just stay in my grandfather's garden and weed all summer long.
He definitely doesn't have time for weeding anymore, that's for sure. The sheer variety of creatures Tommy encounters is impressive.
It is.
It really shows the author's imagination and world-building skills.
And each of those encounters really tests Tommy.
Yeah, they test his courage, his resourcefulness, and his ability to adapt.
Like to all those unexpected situations.
Each challenge forces him to grow, to become more than he was before.
And what about that scene with the muck monsters in the swamp?
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the creepiest parts of the book.
It was. They just kept coming back, no matter how many times Tommy destroyed them.
It was like they were this relentless force of nature. What did you think of that part?
What I think is so chilling is how the muck monsters represent the dangers of the unknown.
Oh, I like that.
They're these amorphous, shape-shifting creatures that embody the fear of what lurks beneath the surface.
Ooh, yeah.
They represent all the obstacles that Tommy has to overcome, both physically and psychologically.
So they're like symbolic.
In a way, and the fact that he eventually finds a way to repel them shows how much he's learning.
With the iron filings.
Yes.
Yeah.
It shows his growing understanding of this world and how he can use it to his advantage.
Exactly. It's like he's learning to think like a warrior.
Mm.
You know, strategizing using his resources effectively.
But there's also a sense of loss in that scene.
With Creature seemingly dying in the swamp.
It reminds us that even heroes can suffer casualties.
That even in their battles, they can lose something or someone important.
The loss of Creature is a real turning point in the story.
How so?
It forces Tommy to confront his own mortality and the weight of his responsibility for himself and Becky.
It's like a moment of profound growth for him.
He realizes that actions have consequences.
And that sometimes sacrifices have to be made.
But thankfully, Creature doesn't actually die.
He doesn't.
He manages to escape from that swamp.
Phew.
Reunite with Tommy. What a relief, right? Especially for Becky.
Who's finally come to her senses and wants to go home.
The reunion is a good reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's always hope.
It's like a reminder that no matter how bad things get, there's always a chance for things to get better.
It reinforces the power of friendship and loyalty.
Even in the face of adversity.
Sometimes the people we care about the most can pull us back from the brink.
Remind us of who we are and what's truly important.
And speaking of adversity, that final confrontation with the Dark Lord is epic.
It is Tommy tricks him into being trapped by the lodestone cliff.
Effectively imprisoning him for eternity.
Such a clever use of strategy and a satisfying defeat for a truly menacing villain.
What's so satisfying is that it's not about brute force or magical power.
Right, it's about outsmarting him.
Tommy using his intelligence to outwit his opponent. It's a testament to the idea that sometimes the most powerful weapon is a sharp mind.
You know, it shows that even when faced with overwhelming power, there's always a way to fight back, to use your strengths to overcome the odds.
It really shows how much Tommy has grown throughout the story.
Yeah, he started as this reluctant kid who hated weeding the garden.
And now he's a resourceful hero.
He saved his friend, defeated a Dark Lord, and protected both his world and Wonderlore.
He stepped into that hero's role.
He did. And it's a classic coming-of-age tale, you know, set against a backdrop of magic and adventure. And the ending with Tommy sealing off the portal suggests a sense of closure, but also a lingering sense of what might have been.
It leaves us with that feeling of what happens next.
Exactly. I mean, the Dark Lord is still out there, trapped but not destroyed. And Becky, despite returning home, has been changed by her experience. It makes you wonder if the story of This Land Wonderlore is truly over, or if there are more chapters yet to be written. And what about you as a listener? What do you think happens next?
And that's the beauty of a good story. It leaves us with questions, with possibilities, with a desire to explore further. If you could step into a magical world like Wonderlore, what challenges would you face? What choices would you make? And how would you emerge transformed? We'll leave those questions for you to ponder.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into This Land Wonderlore. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those imaginations firing.
Thank you for listening to the Kitsap Publishing Deep Dive Podcast. Emily Waters and I will see you in the next episode. Stay tuned.